What happens when a national karate champion, the former CEO of Dubai's largest nightlife group, and deeply reflective coach enters the world of high level sales? You get someone like Bogdan, a man who's been forged by discipline, humbled by life's toughest moments, and now helps top sales professionals rewire the mental code that's been holding them back. In today's episode, we dive deep, really deep, into the mindset traps that most people don't even realize they're stuck in. We talk about leadership, healing, identity, and why affirmations might actually be making things worse, and how your language literally shapes your life. This is one of those conversations that's going to leave you thinking for days. So if you've been grinding hard, but something still feels off, mentally, emotionally, or energetically, this episode is your wake-up call. Let's get into it. Bogdan, where did you start to develop this mindset? What led you down the road to create a concrete mind? Because that's how I see it.
Uh, I mean, I can give you a time frame when I consciously chose to start developing it, right? But with my background, I was unconsciously already doing some things, unconsciously having certain beliefs. I mean, I've been a professional athlete for 15 years, right? I was competing for the national karate team of Macedonia, leading the team. I was like probably 15 times national champion, 6, 7 times Balkan champion. I was European champion in 2009. So I had a pretty much of a success. So that, if we call it mindset about our behavior, I've already
Yeah.
developed a certain discipline, a way of seeing the things, pushing through the hardships and all of that. That was there, right? Then I used that, let's say, knowledge or skill, call it however you want, in my other careers that it was. But when everything clicks, it was while I was still in Dubai. So I was the CEO of the biggest hospitality company in Dubai in that moment, running 8 nightclubs, 3 fine dining restaurants, and around 7, 8, sometimes more, sometimes less, because some of them were seasonal, pubs with company with more than 700 to 750 employees. And I always wanted to be a better leader. I wanted to become, the best in what we're doing. I wanted my
Of course.
venues to deliver the best results, which it was really doing like that. But so there was a point, I think it was like 2016, something like that, where I was like, I need to develop myself. Skills about this I have, skills about this I have. But to become a better leader, I need to learn how to communicate with people a little bit more, how to understand people on a deeper level, because that's what leadership it is. Get aligned. And I remember I had a friend of mine. She is friend now. In that moment, it was just a colleague, where she came one day after being like 10 days in a break, you know? And she came and was like, Bogdan, I'm leaving. I'm quitting nightlife forever. And I was like, why? What happened? And she was like, yeah, I went to this, let's say, coaching training where I learned about this, I learned about NLP, I learned about this, and I decided that this is not the path I want to take. You know, I feel free, I feel very relieved, I feel all of that. So I want to become my own coach. She's a very successful coach right now in the moment, by the way. She works with women and all that. And I was like, okay. I was like, cool. And but kind of that intrigued me. And after a few months, I was like, why don't I discover this part a little bit, explore it? And I gave her a call. She was back in Slovenia in that moment. And I was like, what was the training that you were going? And he was like, yeah, she was like, it's like it was like 7 months ahead because it was once a year. I was like, it's then I give you the number uh, of the contact. I contacted the assistant of, the main coach and everything that was there. I paid and I waited for 7 months, the time to come. And when I jumped in, I went with intention to learn how to be a better leader for other people and how to understand them and how to lead. And I was excited, I'm going to become a better leader, just so I find out how fucked I am inside. That was
You're like, this
true
isn't what I
story.
paid for.
Just to me to realize how much of a weight I was holding, what type of prison I have created by myself within my own mind and body that was not letting the true me come out. And you know what? That realization and going through that training, which was life-changing for me in that moment, right? I came out and I was like, fuck my life. But then I started understanding other people better because I understood what they are going through. I understood where they're coming from, where their behavior comes from, how does their meaning making and state of mind operates, learning about conditioning. So I kind of entered a different world. Like I want to explain it like I put a different lenses that I see the world a little bit different. So suddenly I started feeling judgment free towards people. Suddenly I started feeling no blames towards other people, developing sense of compassion a little bit more, which was way more rewarding than judging in that moment. And I was like, okay, this is the path. And then I started coaching a little bit, getting that part. I sucked at running coaching business like everyone else, right? Client acquisition was struggle, anything else. And it was the moment when I figured it out that I need to learn sales. Like I need to fucking learn sales, right? And because I cannot close a deal for my coaching. I mean, I was, but I didn't know the fuck what am I doing. Like literally didn't have a clue. And then how the journey started in sales. But the journey in self-development, and that never stopped. Like since that moment until today, I've probably over 350K spent on knowledge, tools, skills, understanding, seminars, working with everyone that you know in the market, like out there. Some of them very shitty programs, some of them very good. Traveling from Dubai to Hawaii to Mexico to Tibet to India, discovering ancient ways of approach, models of the world, techniques, tools, how our ancestors were navigating life, so I can come to the point that I do right now in the moment, if you mean.
What has been one of the coolest things recently that you've kind of developed or found that stands out when you think back on your, say, the last 24 months, which I know is a long time?
Yeah, the coolest thing, I don't know. I mean, I'm living the life, man. I'm living the life. I don't say if I will call it coolest. I would say probably like a year and a half ago, or a little bit more, like almost 2 years ago, let's say. I went through a little bit of not as easy period in life connected with my health, right? It was a pretty serious diagnosis that the doctors actually gave me. And they told me, you need to go through this type of therapy. I don't even want to mention the name. Or you need to go for a surgery, but none of that will going to guarantee the results. And I was like, cool. In that moment, you have, that in front of your mind. It comes like kind of you're seeing your fear and your death at the same time, and you're looking in their eyes, you know? And that was probably one of the biggest breakthroughs, which was, that is inevitable. And when something is inevitable, it's irrelevant, because we'll be there anyway. We cannot avoid that part. So why don't I actually enjoy my life right now in the moment and not focus on absolutely anything that does not serve me a purpose? Same way, like if I'm going to depart tomorrow on some other spiritual planes. And that's the approach that I actually took. So I was like, I'm not putting this in my belief system. I'm not going to be practicing it every single day. Oh, I'm sick, or I have this, or I have that. And literally continue doing what I was doing. Like literally. Focusing on myself, focusing on my mind, completely deleting everything. I started implementing a little bit more of alternative methods like water fasting for 72 hours, getting a little bit deeper in my daily routines that I call them routines for my own self-care and everything, developing that positive state of mind, never stopped working out. I booked a trip, I traveled, I went to see my friends, I went in Germany, I went in Spain, I went in Cyprus. I went all around that I could, like where I have friends around to have fun with them. 6 months after that, I'm going for a checkup and the results are completely negative. So if you say that's cool, I would say it's cool, but
Yeah, it's pretty
I don't
fucking
see it
cool.
as I don't see it as cool. I see it as like hyper, super fucking empowering shit. Because then the mind that got you sick is the same mind that can get you healed. Apologize.
And I think on that point it is huge, right? Because the mindset, like you said, that takes you down sometimes these dark roads in life, whether it's being sick or whether it's just feeling sorry about yourself and thinking you don't know how to close anymore, or thinking you ruined everything around you, whatever that applies to, right?
Yeah.
Is the exact same mind that you can change to be able to turn all those things around, which is crazy. Like, I find that crazy anyway. I find it fascinating, but it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And it's all how from which angle you take it, man. Like literally. Which angle you're taking it from. You can become a victim and you say, this happened to me.
Yeah.
Or you can take extreme ownership and take responsibility about it. And you say, this happened for me and through me. So whether it's
Yeah.
that you feel physical discomfort in your body, whether it's a certain accident, we call it accident, that happened, whether it's a client, a prospect ghosted you on the call and you blame the fucking marketing, it's still taking responsibility, because at the end of the day, you're in the same state of mind. You're in dis-ease, disease, or unease language a little bit, right? So you see, language is very funny part. We say
Yeah.
something that we don't even know what it means deeper.
Yeah.
So we are in the same state of mind, and you choose what to think. You choose what meaning you're gonna assign on that thought, which means that you choose how you feel or what emotions you produce. You can. The society is programmed us, and everything that we see and we consume as raw data from out there is conditioning us with many different things. But when you really discover who you truly are, it's completely different story. Now, this is the thing. The coolest part that you asked me in the last 24 months. This is not 24 months, it's a little bit way earlier before, but probably the coolest thing that I discovered is like this. People will ask you, or those motivational coaches, or all those people that, think they know something and actually they just know of a certain thing. They will tell you, imagine who do you want to become, and then you put a vision board and visualization and all of that. Who do you want to become? However, I know millions of people that are doing that and they still don't experience change in their results.
Yeah.
Simply because that vision board, even though it works perfectly, it does not align with their belief system. And their belief system is just reconfirming what they truly believe. So if they have on their vision board, they have Ferrari and a massive mansion, and they're looking at that every day, but their belief system from down says, you're not worthy of that. You're just reinforcing that consistently, and you're making it even worse. So how to bypass that?
Yeah.
I have come to this point. Why just consider this is like just an angle to consider. Why instead imagining or visualizing who you want to become? Why don't you just remember who you truly were before you forgot and created that belief system?
Now the question is, how do you do that? How do
The
you...
question, how do you do is, look, again, language. We always say, how do you do this? How you do this, how you do this, how you do this, how you do this, which means we relate our results to our behavior, right? Doing or actions is behavior. Whether we do something or not do something determines our behavior. Now, people that trying to change their behavior, it doesn't really work long term. They put themselves on a diet, they go to the gym, and after 2 weeks, again, eating McDonald's and sipping Coke, and at the same time eating ice cream, right? And then they blame the world, they blame the government.
True.
Because here is the question. What drives behavior? And what drives behavior is directly our state of mind, which is our thoughts, what we are thinking, our meaning making of that thought, because the thought itself is not emotionally charged, it is just a raw data. Our meaning making, the meaning that we're going to assign, which is internal process, this is wrong, right, good, bad, which is going to directly create a certain emotion, which is feeling. That's the feeling making. That's the state of mind. And you will take actions or you will display behavior which is dictated by how you feel. If you're fearful, you will probably not gonna do certain things because you're afraid. If you are courageous, you'll jump from a cliff and record that with your GoPro and put it on freaking YouTube and had 20 million followers out of it. So there is a difference. So that same thought, jumping off a cliff, for some people, it's reason to see it as possibility of death. And for some other people, it's possibility of making shit ton of money.
Yeah.
It's the same situation, right?
100%.
And now, here is the part where that meaning making, where that state of mind comes, what precedes that, and that is your conditioning or the unconscious programming that contains everything, like your value system, your belief system, everything that you've learned from the moment when you were born until today. It created your model of the world, and you are running based on that limited experience of your model of the world. And I will repeat, your model of the world. It's not mine. So you're just based on your own limited experiences around, you are running a programs, and that's how you navigate it. And you remember, I just said, it's something that you learned. You're not
Yeah.
born that way. And when something is learned, it can be unlearned and replaced with another learning that serves you a better person to become a better purpose, to become the person you prefer to be.
How long do you find that process takes? Because I feel like that would take a long time to unlearn what your whole life has brought into you.
Well, if I tell you that I can just erase a limiting belief from you in 5 minutes, would you believe me?
Yeah.
Well, how about if we really dig deeper? We go through a, let's say, couple of hour session, and we dig deeper, and we find out the most detrimental limiting beliefs that you're carrying around, and we just spend an hour deleting them. It does not take much of a time if you know what you're doing it. But what it takes time is maintaining and integrating that state. And there is a specific process of that you need to be very self-aware and self-conscious. And to do it on a daily basis, while you already feel good, while you already have the knowledge, while you know all of that, so you don't fall back into the same trap, into the same conditioning. One of the main things is enforcing your boundaries. I mean, you cannot heal in the place you got sick. So you enforce your boundaries.
And what does
With
that look
people,
like?
well, that can be look like in your mind and my mind completely different, right? In my story,
Sure.
in this, I can tell you in my story how does it looks like, right? And how was for me, and how have been for many other clients. Let me give you an example. Had a client. She came to me with a severe trauma, like massive feelings of guilt, shame, sadness, hurt. But he was coming from a very abusive household where her husband had been beating her up every single day for the last 20 years. And she broke. And she came for help because she went through every single therapy out there and absolutely everything. And she never found a solution. And she came to me desperate. I remember it was 16-hour session. 16-hour session with me, literally the whole day. In the office, it was still in Dubai. And she came out of that room, completely different person. We released all the negative emotions. We processed all the negative emotions. We got all of that done, replaced limiting beliefs. But here was the problem. Even though all of that was deleted, she went back to the same environment where she got sick. Even though she experienced change, she went back there. She didn't enforce her boundaries. She did forgive fully, just to help herself release that negative emotion. She did forgive. But what was she thinking that will going to happen when she goes back home? After a week, the same problem. And after a year, she piled up all those negative emotions and traumas again. So when I say maintaining and keeping the change means really enforcing the boundaries. So how that can be, for her was that. For me, it was stay away from people that are not taking ownership about their results. Literally, I don't need. So yeah, many people, because my standards increased, and naturally many people fell off. So, but the surroundings about the people that were party people, drinking people, taking drugs people, and all of those, like cool stuff around, bros every day, had to kind of fell off because it didn't serve me anymore. And I didn't do anything. A part of my enforcing boundaries was just me distancing myself a little bit for a longer amount of time until everything came into its own place. Then I made space for a different environment, for a people that are like-minded, for a people that have same standards as me, so we can go and thrive together. Those were my boundaries. Another way of boundaries is when someone will come and tell me, now I meet them after 20 years or 25 years, I see them and they'll tell me like, oh, you're doing this. Probably you get pissed off when you talk with these people. No, I don't. Oh, I know you, I know you. You have been always, that edgy, angry guy. I've been. Yeah, but people don't change. Yes, they do. And my enforcing boundaries here, it is I cannot prove. It's he's operating from his own model of the world. No matter what I do, he's perceiving it differently. And my enforcing boundaries is just don't engage in that conversation. So yeah, I still want to have good time with that person, but I'm going to change the subject. And we talk about, I don't know, snow and evoke memories or God knows, whatever it is there. And that's also enforcing boundaries. There's many examples for keeping the change. So let's go back to the previous question. How do you do it?
Yeah.
Now you know that by just doing it, you will not going to change the results. And if we judge people by what they do, we're going to call them human doings and not human beings, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
why don't
true.
you just be the person you would prefer?
I think one of the biggest things that I'm picking out of this, Bogdan, is just how powerful the words are that we use. And it makes complete logic when you're saying them. It's like I've never taken the time to be able to break down those words and just like have that perspective on it. It's a new perspective. I really like it.
Language is the only tool that we have developed to explain how we experience the world. By
It's true.
language. There is some languages out there. I don't know where, in which book it was or something else, that I found a very, very good fact about language, actually. There is I don't know, tribe in Africa or in some other part of the world where their language is not as rich as English or, and they're missing some words. And they have, I think it was like, don't take me, fully sure because I'm trying to just remember how it was.
Sure.
They have the same word, like let's call the word blah, blah, the word for book, for brown, and for another thing. So it means many different things when it comes to
Yeah.
it. But they don't have a word for pleasure. So they don't know what pleasure even means. Do you see how language creates thoughts in our head?
Yeah.
So if the word pleasure does not exist, you'll be operating simply like instinctive. That was an examination done in some of the tribes. I forgot even where it was. So listen to the power of the words right now in the moment. How much one word can change how you feel inside. I will give you almost identical sentence, and you tell me where your focus instinctively goes. Listen to this one. Today is a beautiful sunny day, but it will rain tomorrow. Where your focus goes?
The rain tomorrow.
The rain tomorrow. So listen to the same sentence now. Today is a beautiful sunny day, even if it will rain tomorrow.
Yeah, the beautiful sunny day.
Right? The context is the same.
Yeah.
And the focus directly goes just with one word, but with even replaced. Now, maybe you've noticed I don't use the word difficult. I would rather say not easy.
Yeah.
Feels differently inside, isn't it? Because it's internal communication. When you say difficult, straight away, difficult thoughts come to your mind, and your mind will start giving you examples of what difficulty it is. And it will going to create, the hypothalamus will create those chemicals, we call it emotion, right through our body, that will going to induce or a positive or a negative, or it's going to be endorphin, oxytocin, or it's going to be cortisol and adrenaline. So I prefer to stay in those nice and good, better feeling chemicals in my body by just changing language.
I have one of those non-negotiables with me, where you have the word difficult. Mine is I can never tell myself I can't do something.
Yeah. But even if you say the unconscious mind, one of the prime directives of the unconscious mind is that it does not process negatives. So let me give you another example and a proof of that. Kids from 0 to 7 years old, they're running properly unconscious because the frontal cortex is still not developed, so their conscious mind, which is only 5% by the way, is not really developed, and they're running almost unconscious, so they're like sponges, they absorb knowledge. What happens when you tell them don't touch the stove?
They touch it.
They touch it. Now what's going to happen if I tell you don't think of a pink elephant?
No, you think of it.
The first you think it's so the unconscious mind does not process negatives.
Yeah.
And another misconception and unpopular opinion for the people, these affirmation lovers, those people that are doing affirmations every single morning and shouting in front of the mirror like lunatics and nothing changes in their life. So what is going to happen if you're saying, I'm not fat, I'm not fat, I'm not fat?
I'm fat.
You're just presupposing, right? So it's funny part when you start to get to understand this on a way, let's say, deeper level.
It's true. So, I guess on affirmations quickly there, are you a fan of them if they're done in a proper way, or how do you feel about affirmations?
Now, what is a proper way?
Well, like you just said there, not in like that double negative that's going to go against what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. But it's the same like we talk about the vision board and everything else. You can shout as much as you want and you can increase juice every day but if it goes against your belief system, it doesn't work. It feels good at the moment when you move yourself from the mirror, nothing changed. It's very commercialized way of approach. People don't understand the approach how it needs to be done properly. So let me give you an example. Imagine you have piled up and you've learned your belief system says you're not worthy enough, you're not deserving, you're not good enough, and that's the limiting belief that you're carrying within you. And you go in front of the mirror and you say, I'm a millionaire. I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. Your unconscious mind says, no, you're not. Let me show you why you're not. So you're just building even more resistance on a deeper level. And that's why it doesn't work. That's why people that are doing this without correcting the belief system first will not gonna have the results. Now when you process and when you reframe your belief system and you add affirmative suggestions while you are in resourceful state, then it's perfect. But there is a process, not just to shout in front of the mirror or read certain sentences. So you need to go deeper, reframe that belief system if it's like, for example, I'm not worthy enough, and then you install a belief that is, I'm worthy for everything that I want, then you have the opportunity to say, I am a millionaire, and visualize that part and come to the point of getting rewired, and your unconscious mind to accept it, you need to be in a very resourceful state. You remember at the beginning when we were talking about to be in a very hard brain coherent state? That's the perfect state when you can use your affirmations. Like, it's all good. Everything that I need is within me now. And then you can affirm because you're coming from a place of abundance. And you're affirming from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. So there is no conflict, but it's flow and alignment. So it will work if you do the deeper work first. If you don't, you're wasting your time in front of the mirror.
I was gonna say it sounds like, just based off of the few different examples that we've gone through, right? Like the concepts are there, and if you do them properly, they do work. But the reality is 95% of people don't do
Or maybe 98, 99.
99%, let's be fair, right? Yeah. Don't actually go deep enough to get the full benefits and actually make it worth its while, so it can work for in the direction that you would like.
They don't go and they don't dig deep enough for the same reason why they're not having the results. The fear of lost identity. Because there is a deep part of you there that is scared that if you do change, you wouldn't know how to navigate the role, that you would become a different person. And it's resisting that change. So most of the people, they don't do the work that has to be done, even though they are aware that they should. But when the time comes, they chicken out. Because the only way of processing negative emotion is not suppressing them, not repressing them, not running away from them, but actually facing them face to face, eye to eye, and learning how to sit comfortably with your uncomfortable self so it can get dissolved and it can get let go or processed. Label it however you want.
Yeah.
It's a
Truth.
mindfuck, isn't it?
It's a
That's what I do for a
mindfuck.
living.
It's a mindfuck, and I enjoy this stuff. Like, this is something that I'm very open to, so I can only imagine if you're not open to this, how much crazy, like, because it's blowing my mind right now. Yes, it's a mindfuck.
I mean, it's blowing your mind because you are open to it. for some people will not gonna resonate. And that's absolutely fine, because they see it through different lenses. Their conditioning is different, their belief system is different, their value system is different, which creates their state of mind, how they think, the meaning, the feeling, and then after that dictates their behavior and their results, right? So I cannot judge them or blame them, because they're running their own programs, something that they've been taught, something that they learn. And until the time comes for them to be just at least a little bit more curious, then they enter this world. And they enter in my world. And then they start shifting. My goal is, because we are all wearing those VR goggles, right? Imagine it like a VR goggles, where we are running our own story, our own projections, our own life movie. My goal is just to make like this, think, so they can, oh fuck, there is something else out there. And when people get, oh yeah, there's something out there, then become curiosity. And when you become curious enough, you start exploring. And when you start exploring, you start learning. And when you start learning, you start deepening the learning. And when you start deepening the learning, you become.
What is your biggest piece of advice from, because I know you've worked with a lot of people in general, but I know that you've worked with a lot of sales reps and a lot of people that are within the sales space.
Yeah.
What do you find is one of the biggest beliefs that they've embedded in themselves that is going against them?
I mean, look, beliefs are just generalizations, right?
Sure.
We can call it like a generalizations. I mean, there is a lot in everyone's scenario, and everyone's movie is different. But if we
Of course.
get to the core of it, and what is the most common among, let's say, sales guys and sales reps, depends on which stage they are and how they are, is, for example, let me give you an example. People, sales reps that struggle to deal with sophisticated buyers, that call them, right? Usually with people that want to learn, and they have the skills, they've learned the skills, but simply they freeze when they need to talk on a higher level offers that are 50K, 100K, 150K offer. They are top performers. They are doing everything. They know things. They've been through coaches. They read the books. They've done everything. But then when they need to have that conversation with that person, simply they freeze. What is the belief behind? It can be few different beliefs. In a certain stage of, let's say, their sales process, they feel uncomfortable or afraid to ask certain questions or to dig deeper, because they're afraid of what might happen if they ask that question. So they're imagining scenario that maybe the person will get mad at them. And here, if we break down, many times it comes to the point of the need for validation, the need for approval. Simply, you need that validation and you need that approval, because there is the belief there that you're not good enough yet. Why? Because you compared yourself with that person. So that prospect said he's making 1 million per month. Yes, you froze. You put them on the pedestal, and then you started operating from scarcity. And when you're operating from scarcity, they can feel it. You get frozen, you don't ask the questions, you're afraid, you're calculating, you don't have meaningful conversation, and then they tell you, I will get back to you. And guess what? They never come back. So now can be many different reasons, like I said, but sometimes I'm not good enough for this. Or the belief, if it's about financial situation or challenging them a little bit out on the financial situation, is maybe the belief Your mom told you that it's very inappropriate if you put your nose in other people's lives when you were a kid. Or you don't ask how much is someone earning. That's not your job. Because you said, Daddy, 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 what is your salary? And then he comes and he gives you a slap and it's like, that's not polite. Straight away you created a belief. And you're not afraid from the prospect. You're afraid from your father's slap that happened 40 years ago. And you don't even understand why. So there can be many different ways. So there are also many of the salespeople that carry a lot of fear of rejection. For some, and that comes from somewhere. I mean, I need to work with someone to discover, right?
Sure.
It comes from many different places it can be. Maybe it's just a learning indirectly learned at a certain point of their life. Maybe they have experienced one of the parents just left the household and they created, it's my fault. I was left. And then it was reconfirmed in their first relationship when they broke up. Oh, I'm not good enough. I was left. And then you have that fear of rejection and fear of people to say no to you. So you're completely blocked on the whole sales process. I don't give a fuck how much of a sales skills you have and how many coaches about skills and objection handling and all of that you have freaking learned. The moment when you're operating from that state of mind, you have only access to 20% of your skills, which is not gonna allow you to perform what you actually know. Simply because you have covered your knowledge with umbrella of emotions and you cannot reach. So you're reactive rather than responsive.
Can't help but smile. I find it fascinating. I genuinely do. I find it fascinating. Bogdan, I want to know, who do you best help? Who do you best serve? And where can people find you?
Oh, who do I best help? I want to at the moment. Just this is my wish and my focus at this moment. I work with salespeople that are already performing, that have learned the skills, that they have invested in their skill set and learning everything, because that's a mandatory thing, right? I mean, you can be very enlightened, but you're not going to be performing without learning the skills. You can be the most enlightened person in the world, but you need a skill to learn how to fly an airplane, right? So people that are already performing, people that are already examples in their circles, but they simply cannot find a way to break through and take it to the next level. Salespeople or sales managers or even entrepreneurs that are performing, but their day-to-day feels like hustle, like weight, when they feel like they need to put a pressure and justify feeling anxious because it feels it's the right thing, but does not add any value in their personal life. People that feel like I had this enough. You know, I know this, but I don't know why I'm doing this anyway. People that does not feel joy when they're on the sales call, but they feel a resistance. And all those detrimental for performance feelings and way of thinking, when people experience that and they are already performing, it's time for them to reach out. Because one can, break through all the limits with the right guidance and start operating from peace and calm and relaxed nervous system rather than operating from survival, because that's what they learned to do. And I want to work with salespeople from a simple reason. I am one of them. I've been there. I've been through the hardships, through disease, that just that hustle that actually have created. And I really sympathize and feel compassionate about them, because I know everyone can do way better for themselves. And the worst thing is that it can happen is they can live more joyful life. Nothing else, right? Joyful and happier life while making more money.
I love that. And where do people best find you, Bogdan?
You can find me on Instagram, or you can find me on Facebook. That's the best. Bogdan Micov on Facebook, Micov Bogdan on Instagram, and it's the same, Bogdan Micov on YouTube.
Well, look, Bogdan, thank you so much for coming on, man. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, you resonated with Bogdan, make sure to give him a follow. He has great content on his YouTube. Check out. And if you want to work with him, send him a message. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, comment, and tell me below, what was your favorite part? What was the mind fuck that you experienced? Because I know I had a few. Thank you.